So, dear ladies and gentlemen, it's 189th day of war of Russia against Ukraine. My name is Andriy Shevchenko, and on behalf of Mediacentru Ukraine team, I'm welcoming all the journalists who are highlighting the events in Ukraine. Who we have right now on the broadcast is Mykyta Poturaiev, the chair of the Humanitarian and Information Policy Committee of the Verkhovna Rada, and we're planning to speak about media law that was accepted yesterday by Verkhovna Rada during the first session. Dear Mykyta, a lot of people were wondered when they saw in media among those 7 demands to Ukraine to give Ukraine the status of the candidate to European Union. Why is the law about media turned out to be in this very important list? So first of all, I would like to greet you, and I'm happy to see you. And I hope that I will be able to see you in person. Glad to hear that. And I'm also welcoming all the colleagues who joined us in this morning briefing. I think this is a very important topic. That is why thank you to the attention to this topic. Regarding your question, well, we all knew that the media law will be there among the demands. And it was known for a long time because it was attached directly to the process of implementation of the agreement about association of Ukraine with EU. This is why we, right after the exception of Verkhovna Rada of the ninth session, we took into account and taken actions in order to prepare this law. And I would like to thank the colleagues from the eighth session of Verkhovna Rada who started to work on media law at their time. And also I would like to thank the Council of Europe who helped by means of providing the experts, providing the technical expertise to the colleagues during the eighth session and both to us. And due to them, this working group worked and they helped to form it among the members of independent journalists and the different organizations members. And this is why we knew in the committee that there will be a moment when Europe will tell, okay, friends, where is your media law? And this is why by the year of 2020, we finished the text for the first reading. Even at that time, it was recommended by European Council and the representatives of European Union, as well as ambassadors of European countries, in order to be accepted during the first reading in Verkhovna Rada. Even back then, it was known that its meeting the agreement of EU met 85%. Unfortunately, back at that time, in Verkhovna Rada, there were more prioritized works, and the media law was waiting for its time. And we correspondingly in committee knew and waited till the day when Europe will remind us about the necessity of this law to be accepted. Okay, why did it happen? Does this topic happen to be so important for EU? Why does it pay so much attention to this? The reason is that, truth be told, back in its time in 1994, when the law was accepted about radio broadcast, and in 1996 when the law about television and radio broadcast was accepted. Back at that time, our legislation was quite progressive. As a basis for the laws were taken the examples of French and Polish legislative base. That is why we did not much differ from EU countries. But time went, and in Europe, the legislation and laws were updated. Then in 2010, there was the directive. In 2018, this directive was updated and updated significantly because the world changed, the media realities changed, and our legislation. Yes, there were some changes, but they were not important. And as a matter of principle, nothing significantly changed. And because of this, because of the media of work, media of free work of media, this is one of the cornerstones of European laws and European norms of life. This is why there is this question occurred. That is why, in order to implement these progressive um, actions in Europe, this should be done. And coming back to this process, we have gone through the whole line of meeting and negotiations with publicity, and also with the members of European countries. Yeah, yes, they were agreed that too many changes will be there during the second changes. That is why, by the time when all the requirements were updated and shown to us, all these work that we have done through, this work has already been done by that time. And both European experts and European society and these laws were meeting their requirements. And because of this, we had two ways: whether to accept the laws of 2020 and do the changes in it, or to change or to vote for changing of the text during the first reading. And as a result, to come to the result when at the first reading we have the text with all the changes implemented. Verkhovna Rada asked us to do this, and this was done by us, and in such a way. And by the way, the law, before accepting the law, we did the public negotiations about that, and we all agreed that yes, everything that was needed in 2019 and 20 we took into consideration. Then what we did the metrics of correspondence and directives, and in accordance to the um, and the similarities between our laws and European laws will be 100%. And also we had the support of the European premier ministers. And as you colleagues know, despite some negotiations and robust argumenting about that, yesterday the law received 230 votes for. But we completely understand that there is a necessity to still work on something, and quite soon I think we will get the official conclusion of the European Committee. Maybe there will be something that we will have also to take into consideration. And also, the first time in the history of the Verkhovna Rada of the ninth session, the Verkhovna Rada offered not to shorten the term of the law exception, but to prolong it up to 21 days in order for us to have enough time with all the fractions and stakeholders to work through all the moments that put some things to the question in order for us to wait for the proper conclusion of the European Council and to offer this law to the second reading in Verkhovna Rada. Okay, let's try us to remind about the pros and cons and about what can be changed during the second reading. What can we talk about the cons? 230 votes is quite a drastic result, and you managed in a very unpleasant situation to get these votes. And I think that this not might be the most important readings and negotiations during the wartime, but in general, the critical cons are boiling down to the fact that, as your critic said, from European solidarity, this uh, evaporates the cultural border with Russian Federation. Also, there is a no fact there is a saying that it lowers down the keeping up the quote to the Ukrainian products. This law becomes more liberal to Russian producers. What can you say about that? Do some of these reasons or questions receive the necessary attention? Well, unfortunately, how it happens many times, these metaphors that they used, sometimes they hide some emptiness. Regarding the quotes, first of all, the law for the quotes of Ukrainian musical product increases from 30% to 40% for radio stations, and the critic regarding us allowing to disobey the rule and for 10%, this is serves as a fact that people must have forgotten the mathematics, or maybe about some conscious manipulations, and I do not like to believe in this. because what we are talking about is that really National Council will soften, not cancel, but will soften the punishment for disobeying the quotes for 10%, but not from 100%, but from the 40%. And as you understand, there is a change about that. There is a difference between that. And as you understand, the disobeying of quotes by radio stations will boil down to 2 songs for the next 24 hours. So do you understand the values of these disobeying the law? But even within this, National Council will give out uh, the warnings. We did this system quite flexible, not as repressive as it used to be. And I think this will only find support from the side of Ukrainian media. Okay, let me paraphrase it in order for me to understand it. So it gives more chances for error, but the punishment still remains quite robust and firm. Yes, this is correct. And even the slightest disobeying of quotes will lead to summing up of these warnings. And after the 5 warnings, there will be the text that will lead to much more severe sanctions. That is why we're not talking about any losing the control of this. So the experts also have taken the side of prohibiting this law, because this law is not supposed to lower or make easier our cultural borders. In addition to that, including, sorry for that. So there was something told about the published media, and you, as a member of the Council of Information and Policy Committee, this will give the support to media on the paper market. So we're not talking about the prohibition of publishing. We're not talking about that. What we are talking about is about registration that might be willing, not the voluntold, and there is a reason for that. The reason was this reason happened was there before the phase of the war, and right now it has just sharpened. The Ministry of Justice, and I would say this is kind of a little bit strange, but Ministry of Justice keeps the register of all the establishments as the judicial people. So we do not have the media register in Ukraine. And this boils down to the fact that in Ukraine right now, more than 15,000 media are there in Ukraine. I'm not sure about 15, but definitely more than 10,000. And I think you understand that this does not meet the reality of our life. There is too many sleeping media, too many medias that simply wake up and to give the documents of the journalist closer to the elections, and giving out the permissions to do the journalistic activity to those people with sport outlooks, and they call themselves a journalist, with a bait and microphones and dictaphones. So we all saw that. What we also have is the publishing house who sent the young journalists for some kind of fuzz around the new buildings built. And yes, sometimes this is done with the quite goodwill and good intention. Let me quote your notes regarding the law. So one should not try to turn Ukraine into USSR. Our power is not in fact that we do not do mistakes, but in the fact that we can fix our mistakes and learn from them. Maybe we can do some news about that. Do you have any broadcasts for the future? What can change in this law to the moment of the second reading? So what we have to do definitely with the colleagues from European Solidarity is to decide the question, one of the most important questions, and this is a question of mechanism of forming those so-called black lists. And they say that this law will cancel the old blacklist, and it's not like that. There is no word, not even a single word, that the previous blacklists are cancelled. There was a proposal from our side to give it another name. But you know, name is the secondary importance things in our life. There is a question about mechanism. So what is the problem here? The problem is that these decisions will be taken regarding in accordance with the black box decision, and this decision is made by SBU, or Ukrainian Internal Affairs Internal Security Office. But it is not acceptable from the point of view of European practice. And what the experts from European Union paid our attention to, and they said that you have the mind of slower motion, slower action. You are the country that has suffered the attack, and this was said even before the 24th, and you as a country have a right to do this kind of list. But in your legislation, you're supposed to have the exceptional list of things for which the man or a subject can be in this list. And you're supposed to have the necessary procedure for taking these decisions. And unfortunately, we had a bad moment about that. I do not remember, it was 2017 or 18, when and completely justful, the Italian singer Alban was taken into this list for him going to tour for Russian money. And this was done correctly, but the criteria was not understandable. But when it was understandable, when he was about to go to do the case in European humanitarian rights law, he was immediately excluded from this list, because it was understandable, because that he will go to the court of European human justice, and he will win this case. And the reason why is that the mechanism of accepting this or that decision in our case does not meet the requirements of European practice. That is why what we offered is for SBU to still remain the subject of applying, for National Security Council be the subject of applying to this list, National Verkhovna Rada to be the subject of applying a man or a person or subject into this list. Yes, there are criteria in this law. We are not saying that it's perfect, but we are continuing the negotiations with European partners, because we are completely for that. And we are standing on the ground that an independent, even though state organ, National Rada, National Council, should be the one accepting whether this or that person should be in this list. In this case, we will not be able to lose any case that we want. Well, truth be told, what we see the critics. About 10% we have already talked, and I think that one should not try to, as a Saint Inquisition, to do the system of hunting Ukrainian media. The list should be worked through and should be written through in such a way that Ukrainian and national state interests should be protected, and these criteria should be working. And also there is a question about one norm, and I accept that there is one our problem, a mistake, and my mistake too. There is a saying that, not saying, but there is a paragraph, and this norm does not work, and we had to write this norm down in media law, even though the rest of it remained in this law. So what is the problem? There is a norm that cannot be met nor by media, neither by media nor by National Council. So what is the norm? This norm makes media representatives or National Council to acknowledge the fact of Russian citizenship that this or that singer or performance actor has. Okay, how are we going to do this? To address to who? To Lavrov? So all in all, this is a norm that does not work and cannot be and hard to be applied, right? Yes, that is why we say that let's try to find any other mechanism, because the law itself is good. The majority has voted for it, but we did some mistakes in this law. For example, this very norm, and it's not gonna work. That is why I, as one of the members of those who made up this law, I'm asking for forgiveness, and I accept that we did the mistake about that. But I will stand on the ground that we still have to work on it, because even though there is a mistake even from media, because if it will start to act, if there will be a negotiations, for example, between some radio station that is broadcasting not even Kirkorov, but some kind of melody written by somebody who has Russian citizenship, and they will be told, why didn't you acknowledge that this man has Russian passport? And they said that we did not have any instruments to do that. Okay, we have heard this, and taking this chance, I have a quick question, and I respect the quick answer. How do you estimate the state of Ukrainian media market right now? Well, the state of Ukrainian media market right now is extremely hard. We are working all the time on coming down from declaration from from the European Union side that they are about to that they can help Ukrainian side for them to be providing the exact help. And what we say is that this can go through Ukrainian Cultural Fund, and this quite transparent organization where all the money are open and transparent and clear to see. But at the same time, let's going from promises that we will help you, let's go to exactly the steps of helping. And I hope that in the autumn time, these steps will become real. So we have right now talked with Mykyta Poturaiev, who is the chair of the Humanitarian and Information Policy Committee of the Verkhovna Rada. This is the committee that for the nearest 21 days will be doing the changes into media law that Ukraine requires in order to change Ukraine from the candidate of Ukrainian Union member to switch Ukraine into the complete member of European Union. Next briefing we will have at 11 o'clock